Look, today marks 10 years of the anniversary of Australia making history and of electing the power sharing parliament for the first time in a long time. And the parliament that we had 10 years ago is the only time in Australian history that pollution came down in a sustained manner. It was only when the Greens were in power sharing that we got pollution coming down. And 10 years on, as we look back at the climate crisis that is continuing to insist, yes, we've rightly dropped everything to deal with the immediate threat of the corona crisis, but the climate crisis is persisting, and unless we take action soon, we're passing tipping points now that will set off a chain reaction that mean we can't rein in climate crisis during our children's lifetime. And so we need to take action, and the only time it happened, the only time we got that action was when the Greens were in shared power. Now, we are perhaps now a year away from the next election. We're in a very finely balanced parliament, and there's going to be a redistribution of seats, which might mean we're going into the election with a de facto power sharing parliament, a minority parliament, and that means we could see history repeating sometime very soon. And I think that would be good. I think it would be good if we were able to take action again to cut pollution.
You might make the positive case for what was achieved, but the political consequences for Labor were ugly. Labor lost that next election and are still quite bruised by that experience and that power sharing arrangement. What makes you think they'd want to do that again?
Well, the next election, the election was lost because Tony Abbott ran an extraordinarily misleading campaign.
But either way, he was successful, and that's the point. That's how politics works.
Yes, and then people saw Tony Abbott and then got rid of Tony Abbott as well. And I think looking back at it now, and certainly this is backed up by polls that have been taken since, if you ask people, was it the right thing to do to go ahead and repeal the only thing in the country that was actually bringing down pollution, most people now say no. And I think as after the terrible summer that we've had, and as we start to see the climate crisis claiming lives here and livelihoods here in Australia, I think people realise that we've got to take action, and the way that we took action back then was good. And I think ask people again, if we had our time over, do you want to take action on climate change and start making the polluters pay? And I think most people would give that a resounding yes.
There was another opportunity to do that, and that's the CPRS. The Greens voted that down. Do you think that was a mistake?
Well, no, under the CPRS, under the predictions of the CPRS, pollution would actually be higher now than it is.
So you don't accept that if the Greens had voted with Labor at that time, some of these so-called climate wars would have been settled? You could ratchet up the ambition by now. That would have been a political deal that would have worked, wouldn't it?
No, I think if there's finger pointing to be done here, it's to the coalition who repealed the only thing that was actually working. And we had in place, we can have all the what ifs about a bad first draft of the policy, but what actually happened, and I think Julia Gillard in this respect deserves a lot of credit for this, and managed to get through a parliament when no one had a majority, world-leading climate legislation that was actually bringing down pollution. Now, I'm sure Rupert Murdoch and Tony Abbott and the fossil fuel industry didn't like that, and they went out of their way to mislead people and tear it down. But what we've seen as pollution has continued to rise under the Liberals since then, and as the climate crisis has continued to get worse, that it was actually the right approach, and we need to do it again.
Have you reached out to Anthony Albanese?
Look, I've got a good relationship with him. We've obviously got our points of difference, and I would say at the moment Labor needs to decide where it stands on coal and gas, because at the moment it's cleaving much closer to the coalition, which is making action on climate change a lot more difficult and letting the coalition off the hook.
Yeah, but with respect, when you say things like that, is that kind of likely to bring them into the tent to talk with you? Because when I speak to Labor people, they say to me that the Greens are all about attacking them, that the Greens spend more time attacking the Labor Party, and they don't think that you're actually fair dinkum on this.
Look, I'm really clear about what I want to achieve at the next election. I want to turf the government out because I think they're bad for the climate, they're bad for the environment, and they're bad for equality in Australia. I want to see a change of government, put the Greens into shared power, and then we can start doing things like taking action on climate and getting the rest of dental into Medicare like we did before. So I think the will is there from our perspective. And look, at the last election, we ran hard in seats like Kooyong and Higgins, where the only reason that the Liberal Party managed to hold on to Kooyong is that they put in $1 million to hold on to the Treasurer's seat by telling everyone that all of a sudden they cared about the climate crisis. Like, they know that even Liberal voters want action on climate change now, and those factors are going to just continue and in fact going to grow come the next election. And I think we're in with a really strong shot of having the Greens in shared balance of power in both houses of Parliament again.